Welcome to Flip Your Lid with Kim Honeycutt. Kim is a psychotherapist and executive director of ICU Talks, a mental health speaking ministry. This is a podcast about how to flip your lid and learning how to reconnect to who you really are.
Okay, y'all. I just want y'all to know you're part of Flip Your Lid, and we also do YouTube. So if you want to see one of the most beautiful people, physically and spiritually, I've ever seen, like when I look at her, at moments I think I'm looking in the mirror. She's so beautiful.
Yeah.
So whatever. Shut up, y'all. Shut up. So, but she's amazing, and she's just one of those people who has a spirit that comes through. So if you're hearing this podcast, welcome. If you want to see her, please go to our YouTube channel because she radiates God's love and knowledge about how to self-care so well. Her name is Shamyra Parker. I'm going to tell you a little bit about her. She's the founder and chief well-being officer of Boundless International. She's a self-care advocate, educator, and healing ally for who creates safe spaces for Black women in leadership roles who are ready to shed their superwoman cape and opt out of overwhelm. Shamyra gives them a mental makeover by showing them how to make self-care non-negotiable so they are emotionally whole and no longer suffering in silence. Amen. Which leads to health issues, fatigue, and burnout. She's a 4-time author, Charlotte native, and mom to 2 boys, ages 7 and 8, with a mission to not only inspire, but also to offer strategies and tangible tools that are critical for lifestyle transformation. With a BA in communication studies and a double minor in African American studies and sociology, she also has more than 10 years of corporate sales and marketing experience with another 5 years in health and wellness outreach. Shamyra facilitates workshops, courses, and professional development with the urgent message that not making yourself a priority has a price tag. She serves as commissioner for the Reimaging America Project, the Truth, Reconciliation, and Atonement Commission of Charlotte, North Carolina, a project of the George Mason University Center for the World Religions, Diplomacy, and Conflict Resolution. She's also a community partner for both Upper Room Outreach International and See Her Lead. And she's also my sister and my friend. So can y'all welcome Shamyra Parker to Flip Your Lid. Hi, sister.
Hi. Hi, Kim.
Hi, honey. That's a long bio. I need a nap.
That's a long bio.
That's some good stuff.
That's a lot. I need to trim that down a lot.
No, that's some good stuff. You've got bragging rights on that because that is all about you taking so many things that could have put you under the rock and instead you're standing on it, screaming loudly.
Yeah. Glory to God, though, right? Stuff. Like all glory to Him. It's only Him.
Yeah. So it's really good. So you know where we're going to go. First question is only predetermined question. Here we go, people. So please tell our audience what flipped your lid. What life experience, what life event flipped your lid, and what measures have you taken to reconnect to who God says you are?
Kim, when you asked me that question, I could think of multiple times in my life where my lid was flipped. But, you know, I felt the Holy Spirit urging me to talk about the time in my marriage that my marriage was on life support, which led to ultimately, unfortunately, a divorce. And I don't talk about it a lot. So I think that's why He's making me talk about it. He makes me talk about things that brought about shame. He makes me talk about things that I don't really like to talk about publicly. And so it's just been so poignant to really lean into Him and say, okay, Holy Spirit, I'm going to yield and be obedient. So I want to talk about that time. It's hard, you know, that level of vulnerability to talk about a time that truly I remember having lost myself and to have done so much to find myself from the last time I lost myself, to wake up one day and really truly not know who I was. Yeah. You know, I was truly disconnected from God. I was going to church. I was in church. I was involved. I showed up, I smiled, I served, but I didn't feel close. I didn't feel near. Yeah. I felt like I was literally just this existing shell I call it in my sessions with my clients, the walking dead. I was the real live walking dead. And it was one day I happened to look in the mirror, and I realized that how many times we look in the mirror, but we don't see. So it's a different thing, right? To look upon or look at versus to see. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times we are just in the mirror out of utility, most of us, right? Except for those who like to look at themselves. But, I looked and I stopped. And I really saw. And what I saw was emptiness.
Wow.
I saw somebody's mom. I saw somebody's wife. I saw somebody's daughter, somebody's friend, somebody's employee. But I didn't see Shamyra.
Wow.
And I felt myself slipping back into that depression that I've talked about when I talked about my prior suicide attempt. And I knew I couldn't go back there. And so I got on my knees. And I said, God, I haven't really talked to you in a long time. I've been talking. I've been moving my lips, but I haven't really talked to you. And I just really need you to show me through your eyes. I need you to tell me how you see me as the completed work, right? Like the way that you see me, because when you see me, you don't see the flaws. You don't see all the things that are wrong with me. You see who you formed and knitted and created in that womb. And I don't know her. Yeah. I don't know what she's supposed to do. I don't even actually remember what she likes. Yeah. And I prayed that prayer, and I felt led to pray it over and over and sit and listen. And God started to really deal with me. He started to send people. I remember my co-pastor had a dream about me 2 nights in a row. And she told me about it. It was all these things, all these messages that were coming. And then I started having dreams and visions. And God was showing me. But it was unbelievable, Kim. And I believe that's why he didn't want to show me. Like, you're not ready, and you're not going to believe it, And what I had to do around this time was I hired a life coach, and I got into therapy, intense therapy. I went to therapy for a year, and I was with my life coach for a year. I was not playing. And I will never forget the moment, Kim, where my life coach asked me, well, what do you like to do? And I want you to go home and come back to me with a list of what you like to do. And I came back and I had nothing on the list. Yeah. Because I couldn't even remember. Yeah. What had been happening in my marriage was I was in a marriage where it was really toxic. It was really, really toxic, and I think the hard part about talking about it is because there was verbal abuse, there was emotional abuse, there was financial infidelity, financial abuse. And it's hard to talk about it because when you're dealing with someone like that, even after the fact, you find yourself under their control where you don't say anything because you're afraid of the backlash even long after it's over.
Yeah, it's very true. It's such a conditioning, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. It is. And I tried to talk around it. I tried to not address it, or I would address it privately, but never publicly, because I feared the backlash and what that would, what that would bring. And, so many people don't know and didn't know that I went through that. It's the same thing as mental health, right? If I can't see your wound, then it must not be there. Yeah. So when it comes to that type of abuse, people don't see it. Yeah. So they don't know. But I was experiencing it, and I had taken in so much that I literally became numb, and I was just existing. I had lost my sense of identity, and I was just surviving, just in it. And so it was clawing my way back. Yeah. Leaning into Christ and all of this. And I say, it's really this multi-pronged approach, because I don't believe that I don't believe that just one thing, right? I think you have to have God first, but I believe in therapy, and Amen. You got to have the therapy. Right. And the coaching piece was really key for me. That was a woman. She was a woman of God. She was a prayer warrior. So she spoke life. And that was That was that moment where my lid was flipped. When she spoke to me, it felt like there was a switch activated. She was speaking to me, but I was hearing the voice of God.
Ooh, that's good. That's good.
And if you imagine, you know, those buttons that say in case of emergency, that's what I felt like. She had reached that button, that God had created a mechanism in me in case of emergency, in case of loss of identity, flip this switch. And she spoke to me in a way that called forth who I was to remember and bring back to my consciousness, oh, that's right. That is who I am. And it really aligned with what Christ was showing me. And I started to understand I'm not small. I'm not weak. You know, all the things and all the messages that I'd taken on during the moments when I was receiving the abuse, right? I internalized them.
Yep.
And they became my voice. So to have to deprogram those voices, those words, and really hear God clearly, hear him through his word, hear him through my prayer time, hear him through the people that were speaking life into me. That was the moment where my lid was flipped, but it was different this time because what I understood was that when I came out of it, I was going to have to bring other people with me and that would become a part of God's purpose for my life. So it wasn't enough to learn how to do it for myself. It wasn't enough to learn how to love myself, to care for myself, and to really, really get in alignment with God's identity, who he told me I was before anybody else told me who I was, before any name I was called, before any way that I was spoken to, who he said I was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just so grateful for your courage to talk about this because you went through this in the time I've known you. And so there's so many things I want to say that. One, I think one disservice we do to people is that we look at people and we decide everything's good, or we put some type of blanket on them, some type of our own experience, some type of bias on people.
Yeah.
And so I know this has been very secretive for you because no one knew what was happening to you behind closed doors. And so for you to speak this, and again, that's part of why I want people to even see you and watch this, for people to see like this is not being verbally abused, being physically abused, intimacy, partner violence is not reserved for just somebody who is financially struggling, just somebody who was raised in a broken home. It's just not that. It's any of us. Any of us. Because you get treated by someone else in a way you would never treat them. And so it's hard to digest what's actually happening to you.
Yeah, it is. And I think too, depending on your personality, right? I was dealing with abandonment issues. I was dealing with rejection issues. So spirit, not having really fully been freed from the spirit of rejection, not having fully been freed or delivered from the spirit of abandonment, my coping mechanism was to hold on harder, to hold on tighter, to people. Oh no, because I might not get this love again, even though I'm holding on and I saw something somewhere and it said, let go or be dragged or be drugged.
Right.
I was being dragged, and not physically, but the way that it was happening was I was holding on to the very person that was hurting me, because of my ideas around what love looked like and how I needed to hold on to people. And so there's this, unresolved trauma, this healing that hadn't taken place. And this person entered my life and we came together and, he had his own trauma. So I'll say that, because a lot of times the folks that are doing this, it's because it was done to them. So he had his own trauma, and not to make any excuses for that, but you have two unhealed, traumatized, wounded people coming together who are not really firmly rooted in Christ and haven't done their healing work. And that's really what it's about. It's about doing the work. And that's what I committed myself to after, I was like, I got to get this together because I never want to experience that again,
Yeah,
ever.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I've learned that marriages are either an opportunity for people to stay in their childhood pattern or to heal each other to get away from the childhood pattern. Right. And without awareness of that, and I say this, and this can upset people. That's what I do. I'm good at that. That you just reading your Bible, you just going to church with each other does not take you out of walk around the promised land for 40 years. It does not take you out of that. There's not one scripture you're going to put on your childhood trauma or apply to your marriage and everything's going to be okay.
Amen.
Like there's work that has to be done. All right. And then your work became post-marriage because it's a year of very intense work of now trying to deprogram, because now that initial wound has got a lot more knives in it.
It does. And it's longer than a year.
Yeah.
Healing work, people have to understand there is no destination.
Mm-hmm.
It is an evolutionary work, and you will be healing, and there will come things that will come up for you that will highlight an area that needs attention. Right. But I think what's happening for people is there's a lot of emotional triage. There's a lot of, we're just going to put a Band-Aid on this bullet wound and hope that it stops bleeding and just keep smiling.
Right.
And keep over functioning and keep pushing, and really, because this is what makes everyone else feel better. And what really has to happen is you have to get to this place of reckless abandon where you are just like, I don't know what has to happen, but this I can't go on like this anymore. Right. And that's where I was. I didn't know how. I didn't know what it looked like. I didn't know what I needed to do. I just knew I could not go back there. I couldn't go back to the dark space that I was in when I was suicidal and depressed and didn't want to get out of bed. I just knew that if I didn't do something, that I was not going to make it. And that's why I always say to people, self-care saved my life. When I learned how to care for myself, it's like this. When you think about a man who gets a car that he really loves, right? Mm-hmm. He takes care of that car.
Right.
Like he spends time taking care of that car. That's the same thing for us. Mm-hmm. So just taking the time and giving myself permission to take care of me when I was used to taking care of everybody else.
Yes.
It's how I fell in love with who I was, who God said I am. I needed to fall in love with me because I didn't love me.
Right.
I didn't love me.
So we can't preach this enough because the church as a whole, and this is not a blaming statement, this is actually giving accountability, and we take personal responsibility. We're giving accountability to us in the church.
Yeah.
We teach people, particularly women, we praise them for self-neglect.
That's right.
We praise them for over-functioning, overthinking, overdoing, and a lack of self-connection.
Yes.
Right. And then when there is a consequence, there's a behavioral consequence, something happens in their life because they're not taking care of themselves, we put it back on them.
That's right. It's so true.
It's so prevalent.
It is. And that's why I do the work that I do for women.
Yeah.
I am super serving Black women because of some of the unique needs and challenges that we have around some of the historical background that, where we come from and, that is born and has been forged out of slavery and what is unique to Black women. But it is a woman issue prevalently. Yes. Men are, okay, if you're listening and you're a man, not trying to say that you don't need help with self-care, but men are largely taught to take care of themselves, even if it's just going to the gym. And as I tell my ladies all the time, they're taught to take all that they need, whatever it is that they need to take care of themselves to be okay. Whereas as women, we're taught to take what you need. Just take a little bit. We're automatically taught to shrink.
Right.
And we're taught to, do what you need to do, but it cannot overshadow what you need to do for everybody else. So if there's something left over, then you can have that.
Right. Right. Like we encourage the addiction of busyness. We encourage perfectionism. We encourage that. And can it happen in men? Absolutely. But just for men listening, just understand, like it's why y'all make more money than we do. It's why that y'all, and part of it really is your childhood attachment. Y'all have more likely, because of generational passing and generational trauma, to have an avoidant attachment, which means you got taught to do what you want to do and to never be inconvenienced. And women were taught that their badge of honor was to be inconvenienced for you.
Ooh, Kim, fire.
Yeah. And so I think that's shifting and changing. And I know incredible men who are working hard to have secure attachment to themselves, to the Lord, to their wives. And however, we're still looking at generations of being taught that we are to be inconvenienced and men are not to be.
Yeah. So we're looking at something that is a generational message. Yes. And it is underlying. So a lot of women have no idea, as I call it, the program that's running in the background. Right. So there's this programming and there's a script and it's running in the background and it's affecting your whole system. Right. It's affecting your system. You feel it. You know it's happening, but you have no idea what's happening. So it's really that connecting to that.
Yeah.
And getting to a place to where you understand, okay, this is why. Because a lot of women will say to me, I just don't know why.
Yeah.
I don't know why I can't practice this self-care. I don't know why I feel like I have to do it all. I don't know why. And I'm like, it's programming. It's been there. It was there before you were here. And it's been passed down to you. And it's something that has been taught to you. It's been put upon you. Right. We absolutely celebrate exhaustion as a badge of honor.
We do. It's true. Yeah, the longer you work, the more you do. The fact that you made an entire meal for the family, but you didn't get to eat, but you also cleaned. We really look at that as exceptional.
It is. And what's so disturbing about it in the Christian community, honestly, is that that's not what Jesus modeled for us.
That's right.
Right. So, when I teach my Reclaiming Your Personal Sabbath class, I do this rooted in scripture for a reason, because I need to teach my Christians that self-care is not something that was just created. It's been here for a long time. Right. And if Jesus could do it, so can you.
Right.
Right. So when he went off to pray and he was like, look, y'all, I'm going to spend time with the Lord. This is my prayer time. This is my time to soak in the presence of my Father. Do not follow me.
Yeah.
This is my me time.
Yeah.
That was one. When he said, I'm going to bed, and he went to bed and he rested, me time.
Yeah.
Like he encouraged, he was here as an example.
Yeah.
So we're missing it though. We're missing it.
Right. Well, let me add to that, because this is what I was thinking before you even said that. I was thinking about when Jesus was told the disciples, like, hey, keep guard. I got to go pray. And he's praying and he's crying and he's sweating blood and all this. And he comes back and they're asleep. He's like, y'all, I need y'all to stay awake. You gotta protect me. And he goes back and prays and he comes back again. And they all slept.
Right.
He just knew, walking away from that, he was walking into his death and resurrection. He still stopped and said, I gave you a need and you violated my boundary, basically. Like, you didn't do what I asked you to do. He didn't say that for himself necessarily. In that moment, it's about him, but he said it for all of us coming behind. All of us who are going to come after that, of knowing that if we can't have a voice and tell people what we actually need for them to do, then we're playing small. And God didn't send him to be crucified and resurrected for any of us to play small.
Say it. That's a whole word right there.
Yeah, we have to have a voice. We have to tell people, like, hey, that didn't work for me. I needed you to do this for me and you didn't do it. And women are not taught to even know they have a need, much less have a voice around it. And we're missing the next level. We're missing the next step for ourselves.
Yeah.
He has for us.
Yeah. It's not easy finding your voice, right?
Right.
It wasn't easy for me.
Yeah.
I was more comfortable, actually, supporting my husband and taking care of my children. It allowed me to not have to be accountable it allowed me to not to have to really have the responsibility of operating in purpose. It's a heavy mantle. And for God to trust you with that.
Right.
And so once you accept that and once you walk in that, that's a whole different thing.
Yeah, preach it.
And so it was easier. It was easier, right? It finding my voice, just what does that feel like? What does that sound like? If my name is, so-and-so's wife, if my name is Asher and Asa's mom, if my name is, Diane's daughter, my name, how do you find your voice when people don't even call you by your name?
Yeah, there you go. Preach it. Yeah.
And so it's tapping into that. And I find that my work with women, when they start to care for themselves and we start to talk about, what it feels like to be unapologetic, to stop apologizing, to stop over explaining and over apologizing, to really get non-negotiable about this is what I need to be okay. And not just okay, because we're past surviving. We want to be in a space of thriving because that is what God meant for us. That is the life that he had for us.
That's right.
A life of abundance and overflow, not just barely making it.
That's right.
And so what does that look like? And what happens is there's this transformation that happens to women and they just start to get really revved up because they're like, you know what? You're right. I'm noticing that they don't respect when I say that I need my time to myself.
Yeah.
I'm noticing that my boss does this.
Yeah.
And what we do is we go over like, what are some things that you can say that are based on your personality, right? That are comfortable for you. And that's really important to practice that because some women don't even know what their voice sounds like.
That's right. You're right. Yeah. That's why the work you're doing is so important. And kind of going into us being taught to play small.
Yeah.
And the idea of, of having a voice and, just that sense of the perfectionism and the codependency, if you want to put a label on it, that comes in. Well, I've learned when people struggle with that is that it causes us, and this is part of saying I'm sorry all the time, it causes us to feel important when we're not, but we won't let ourselves feel important in the way we really are.
That's good.
Because we are important in the kingdom. If I'm apologizing for everything that's happened to you, that's going to be my pseudo-importance. And I'm not going to ever get to, I'm going to settle for that. I'm not going to ever get to feel the importance of being somebody in the kingdom who's got a word for somebody.
That's so good, Kim. That's so good. And we see it all the time.
All the time. And you're one of the people who's out there doing something about it because we see it, we shake our heads and we keep going.
Right.
And you're in it. You're in the front line of the battlefield.
Yeah, because Holy Spirit wouldn't let me. I'll say that, right? It wasn't me. I'm just going to say that for anybody listening. I didn't think that I would be here doing this. I never thought I would be speaking in front of people, teaching people. That's not what I thought I would be doing at all.
Right.
But the Holy Spirit would not leave me alone about speaking. Really, all it was about in the beginning was just speaking with other women about what I had gone through in relation to what they were feeling.
Right.
And I just felt like self-care was this revolutionary thing, the way that I'd experienced it, not this commodified, commercialized version that has been, created in the media, but real like soul care, taking care of your emotions and your mental health and your physical health and your financial health.
Yes.
Really cultivating all these various aspects of your life and where you have needs.
Right.
And not neglecting, or as I say, abandoning or betraying yourself, because self-abandonment and self-betrayal are really the way that we are taught to operate as women. We are taught to operate in a way that makes any and everything more important than us.
Yeah, that's so well said. So well said. And I want to talk about financial abuse for a second, because you're right about the soul care, and you brought up finances because it sounded like there was financial abuse for you in the marriage. And this is one thing that's different for us women. I've not talked to one man who's been through this. It could happen. I just haven't talked to them. And I talked to many women whose husbands will say to them that unless you have sex with me, I won't give you money for a weekend trip with the girls.
Wow.
Or money for their actual kids.
Yeah.
One of the big things narcissistic people do is they use money to harm. I've worked with a woman who, for a year, her husband, while they were separated, refused to give her a dime. She barely had food. Now, he got in a lot of trouble once they got to court for all that, but he just said if he didn't pay her for a year during the separation, he hoped that would help her come back. And I haven't talked to one man who's been through that. That's just me. But financial abuse is a huge part of where we are not taught a whole lot. And so a man comes in because he is taught to be a financial provider, which I know is a lot of pressure for them.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's used when you're dealing with someone who has a soul sickness, it's used very against women so that she will stay and do what the man wants.
Yeah. Yeah. I have to say this, Kim, and thank you for sharing that example because that's very real for me. I'll say this. These types of abuse can be sneaky.
Yes.
So I didn't actually realize until later that this is what I experienced. Yeah. I didn't necessarily, how is it that I'm this powerful woman? Mm-hmm. I'm not just sitting there letting things happen, right? I'm not just doing that. I am actually, I do have a voice. I haven't really found my voice, but I'm not just sitting there. I'm talking back. I'm kind of fighting back. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I just didn't think.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until later that I really understood that that's what was happening. When we talk about financial abuse, what we're talking about, for me at least, was I wasn't the breadwinner. I wasn't the breadwinner. He was. I had a stable job, but I basically had to use all of my money to take care of everything. And then I was in this constant state of wondering what kind of fires were going to pop up that I was going to have to try to figure out what to do about. And I remember thinking to myself toward the end of the marriage, how am I going to survive? And it was a really weird thought because it was like, well, how are you doing it right now when it's being lorded over you and you don't know whether or not, this is going to be paid or whether or not, I just was in this, this state of unbelief that I could make it after he left. Yeah. And so, I just didn't know how. But then again, here we go, right? With the faith piece. Because what financial abuse teaches you is that you can't make it without the person.
That's right.
That's the point of it.
That's right. There you go. That's well said.
I can't, you're not going to make it without me. And I'm going to use this to hurt you. This is going to hurt you. You will not be provided for, but you are not the source.
Yeah.
You are not the provider. You are not Shamyra. Yeah. So you have no power to control provision for me. You don't.
That's good.
Right. And so that I really believe was what God was doing. He was dealing with me in the area of my faith where I had to really own that. I had to really, really own, you know what, your faith. You need to raise your faith. You need to elevate your faith. And it wasn't comfortable.
Yeah.
Because I was put in that position when we separated where I didn't have everything that I needed, and where I, had to go into a foreclosure prevention program. A lot of things that people didn't know. I had friends who, God put me on their heart and they brought me meals and they gave me money for groceries because I was in this kind of in between period where I had to leave my job. There was a lot of other people don't know, but there was a restraining order that I had to get at the end. Yeah. And that was really rough. And it made me have to go in and immediately quit my job. So I went from doing this work part-time and on the side to, well, I guess this is all I have and I have to be full-time and I just got to do it because I had to leave. My job was traveling all the time and I couldn't do that.
Right.
And then also mother my children.
Yeah.
So I had to call my boss and say, with tears in my eyes and say, I'm in a domestic situation and I can't give you 2 weeks notice, but I can't go back on the road.
Yeah.
And I could not access the money that I had because the spouse had to sign off on it. So I didn't get another paycheck and I couldn't access however many thousands of dollars. So there was this period of time, literally. And then, the checks were bouncing. Things that I thought were paid came back. They weren't paid. So it's really real.
Ooh,
and
girl,
I remember
that is overwhelming.
It is, Kim. But God. So
But
this is why, ooh, people don't know, right? They didn't know.
Yeah.
Because God sent provision. He just didn't send it the way that I thought it would come and the way that I was used to seeing it come. This was me being in the cave, right? And he was sending me the provision the way that he decided that he was going to send it, whether it was through people, whether it's through unique situations, whatever it was, he was sending it his way. And literally ever since then, Kim, that's how it's been. God sends provision in the most unique ways. And he has had to stretch my faith in, I can't even tell you in how many ways that he's dealt with me and my faith around provision since becoming a single mother and a full-time entrepreneur.
Right. Well, and it's like what you're saying is that he taught you to not look where you always looked.
That's right.
Right. If it's going to be a renewal, it had to be a new perspective, a new way of him coming into your life.
Yeah.
And he showed up.
He did. And he always has. And that's why I think, for me, the pandemic was tough, but he had already prepared me. He had already prepared me for uncertainty. He had already prepared me. I was not freaking out, but if I had not had that experience, I probably would have had an emotional breakdown. I probably would have. But he had been preparing me for what it looked like to really lean into him to be the true father. He was saying, okay, now daughter, so you've gotten to know me on this level. Now I need you to know me in a new way. And what I was struggling with was that concept because I didn't have my father in my life. So what does it mean to trust a father as a provider? What does it mean to trust a father so completely that you are not trying, well, how, God? A child doesn't ask their father how.
Yeah, that's true. That's
They just trust.
Yeah.
They don't ask how we're going to eat. They don't ask how we're going to pay. I had to learn to trust God like that.
Right.
And that was not easy.
I just heard a definition of trust that really resonated with me, and that is trust is the bridge between the known and the unknown.
Yeah.
And that's what you're describing, because what you knew had hurt you and no longer worked. And it was about trusting that he would provide a bridge for you, a different way to walk by faith until you got to, because of the unknown. Because it was all unknown at this point.
Everything was unknown, Kim. And even just him speaking to me a year before that he wanted me, he said to me a year before, after you leave this job, you're not going to work another job. And when everything happened, I said, okay, now Jesus. Well, what do you mean? Because we need some money. That's what this journey, this faith walk, it's totally been a bridge between the unknown and the known. But there's been so much unknown, Kim.
There's a lot unknown what you're saying.
A lot unknown. Yeah. But that's why I trust him the way I do. And it reignited my faith in a new way. Yeah. The woman that was forged out of the ashes, like the phoenix that rose up out of the ashes, that it felt like my life was being burned to the ground. That's what it felt like.
Yeah.
Because what I went through that divorce, the public slander on social media, the not having the provision, the almost losing my house, all this while building a business, while serving other women, while trusting God.
Right.
I wasn't the same. And I would never be the same. So the woman that was forged from the ashes is who you see before you. And that's why I can still find my peace, even if it's in pieces. That's why I can seize on the joyful moments, because of what I walk through. And I know that if he didn't leave me then, if he provided then, if he still continued to heal my heart, how is it that I'm able to go through that and still have a tender heart and still actually trust people? I don't, you know what I mean? Like most people would be suspicious of people, or they would say, I just love.
Yeah.
I just love. That's what he's called me to do.
Yeah. And you think because you kept taking things to him and purging the old beliefs, the childhood pattern that got you with a man who was that toxic, like it was just a continuous depth. Like it wasn't a superficial cleansing. Like there was a depth of this cleansing.
Yes. And I know that. And I know that, but I had to take that time.
Yeah.
I had to take that time, and I had to really settle into, this is what this is for. This is not for me to be focused on anything else other than his purpose, that he wants to achieve through me, being a mother to my children and healing.
Yeah.
I just want to be whole. Wholeness is the goal.
Right.
And I wasn't whole.
Yeah.
I was fragmented. Right. I was wounded. I was cut up. And I wasn't whole. And so I know that taking things back, and as I like to say, decluttering my life. Right. I was decluttering so much, my heart, my spirit, and moving things out that had nothing to do with him. Getting all the junk and the noise out so that I could hear him clearly, and so that I could open myself up and truly say, God, I need you to come in, and I need you to do deep work. I need you to perform surgery. I need a new heart. I need you to renew my mind, because I can't do this by myself. Yeah. And just that humility before him. I don't have the answers. I'm surrendering this to you. Right. I want to say that when you go through abuse, when you go through situations where maybe even trauma, where it feels like so much is out of your control, you try to regain your power and your security in any way that you can. And therefore, surrender becomes difficult. Right. It's true. It's a really, really good point. Really good point. So what does it look like to surrender to Christ? To actually surrender to the process of healing? Because I was healing and grieving, because that divorce was a death. Right. A lot of people don't look at it like that, but divorce is death. It is the death of what you thought was going to be. God, it wasn't supposed to be like this. The death of what could have been. Right. And I was grieving and carrying my children's grief at the same time. So it requires a level of surrender. Right. To make that exchange. God, I'm giving this to you because I can't carry it.
Yeah. The last is so well said. Thank you. The last part of grief, not there's ever an end of grief. There is not. But when it comes to people kind of having an understanding and having an internal cleansing process, the last stage, which I don't feel like is the right word, we call them stages, they're not really stages, is action. And your boys, with your guidance, took a beautiful action. They wrote books.
Just one so far.
Well, okay, they wrote one book. Can you talk about that, about how we all went through that process, y'all grieved, and again, they don't probably know the severity of what you're going through. And if you have a friend or know someone's going through a divorce, please, I don't care if it's an amicable divorce, it is a incredibly painful, in North Carolina, long process.
Yes.
Very difficult, long process. And so just know they aren't okay. They are not okay, and they need you. But part of that is getting to a point through your divorce that you get to a place of action. And you had a beautiful step with your sons. Can you talk about that?
Sure. Yeah. So I think that for me and my boys, talking has always been a thing. We talk a lot. Yeah. And I was sitting down talking with them about this whole journal experience. It's just wanting to do a divorce journal. And I asked them, if it was something that they wanted to be a part of. So I knew that kids needed it, but I had to ask them if it was something that they wanted to join me on, because I really, really wanted for them to be able to put forth what they thought kids would want. Right. You know what I mean? What is it that, you feel like other kids would want to see in this? And so we sat down, and as I was designing it, I had my design software up. And, they were right there, and they jumped in. At first it was Asher, and he was like, and I think that they need a place to draw, and I think they need a place to write. And I was like, okay, so we'll do both. I said, you want to do both? He's like, yeah, I want to do both. And then he kept going with that. And then he said, I think I want to do something on, what did he say? Did he say mindset? He didn't say mindset, but he said something about that in his words. Wow. And I said, okay, fine. So we created a page for that. And so basically between the two of them, when Asa jumped in, then he says, okay, I want to do a page on this. So it was just them jumping in and, just wanting to do whatever came to their mind that they felt like they needed. And included in this was a page for them to write a letter to me, their mom.
Wow, I love
and to
that.
write a letter to their dad.
Yeah.
And I love that because there are things that they might be able to say in a letter that they might not want to say to us personally.
Mm-hmm.
And even for me, it was important on the regular page where you circle your emotion to get past the big four, right? Because I wanted to really give kids additional emotional vocabulary. I wanted them to be able to expand beyond 4 emotions because I felt confident that they were definitely feeling more than 4 emotions at any given time.
Right.
And so that was big for me, so that they could have some vocabulary to be able to talk to their parents.
That's amazing.
So we just kind of sat down and we did it. We did it honestly in like a night. And then I just kind of spent some more time refining it. And they felt so proud. They were so proud of it. And they said, I just really hope that this helps other kids, because they have felt a lot of, and I'll say this to anyone who's watching this, in addition to what Kim said, please don't think that if your child doesn't have an immediate reaction, that there won't be a latent one.
That's very true.
My youngest seemed okay. I knew he wasn't, so I got both of them in therapy immediately. And they were in therapy for a couple of years. But my youngest is just now starting to have some, kind of acting out, some feelings, some anger has come up, some frustration that I didn't see at first. Mm-hmm. And he has a tool for it.
Yeah.
So he pulls out his journal.
He pulled out his own book.
He pulled out his book.
That is amazing. I just want you made such a good point. I want to bring this up and we believe this is innate, that people are either a forward thinker, like I'm a forward thinker, like the moment's over, I can think the future and keep going. Other people are what called slow percolators or slow processors. And slow does not mean bad. It just means 3 weeks later, they'll have the exact comment, exact way of expressing what they went through 3 weeks prior. That is not a matter of intellect. That's your internal processing. So I love that you're putting that out there, that, and to watch our children, not just want them to be okay, it's to help them at any point to know it's okay to not be okay, and then get to a point that they're okay within themselves.
Yeah, it's up to us to give them the tools, right? To support them, to guide them, and give them what they need, even before they know that they need it or before anyone knows that they need it. But I want to throw this in there to kind of add to that, Kim. I've said this and I'll keep saying this. When I talk about parental burnout, a well parent is a well child. And this is, again, why self-care is important. Mm-hmm. My therapist said something to me one day when I was in there, just kind of trying to push through the grief. And I'm like, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm really fine. I'm okay. I'm fine. and she's
like, you protest too much.
Right. Okay. Are you trying to convince me or yourself?
Right.
And she said, they're not fine. And I said, I've gone through this. I've been through the therapy. Because this was a different therapist. And I've been through, I did 2 years of therapy. I am good. Here's what I want people to know who are experiencing divorce or separation. It will come in waves, just like grieving the loss of a person. And as you experience a new phase in your divorce, your separation, co-parenting relationship, you may be thrust back into grief. And it's okay to not be okay. And it's okay to grieve, to allow yourself to not be okay and to allow yourself to grieve. And one of the things she said to me was, you cannot carry your grief and theirs if you don't allow yourself to grieve. You have to. So she said, even if that looks like you are giving yourself an hour here, a day here, a weekend here, a couple of hours, 15 minutes, give yourself what you need to feel what you need to feel.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I mean, it's an entire civilization that ends. Like, there can be friends, there can be, for you, job position, like so much can change. But it's also just the idea of the marriage, this idea of never having to say, I'm a divorcee, right? Which should have no shame on it, but we put shame on that, which is ridiculous, right? And so it's just, there's so much there to it, especially if you're dealing with someone who had to get a restraining order and then a protection order. I don't know if you've ever looked at the paperwork for a restraining order and what I know women who can't finish the paperwork because they can only get an hour off work, and they have to work because they have kids and they have bills and they have a husband that they're getting a restraining order against. And so they're not, it is, I can't even talk about the system. Like, it's just too much, but it's a lot to go with somebody that you believe you're going to spend the rest of your life with to get a restraining order.
It was hard. I had to say it was one of the hardest things that I ever had to do, I want to say, because I sat outside the courtroom. I talked to one of my mentors, my spiritual mentors from my church, and I was crying. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't go. I couldn't bring myself to go and file some kind of paperwork against a Black man, right? This has its own implications,
right? True.
Of putting a Black man in the system for something like this. Mm. But I felt like I didn't feel like my boundaries were not being respected, right, as they hadn't been before. But what needed to happen is, because they were never respected, I had to take a stand to say, I need you to get this. Mm-hmm. This is my boundary. Mm-hmm. And what happened before is not what's going to happen now.
Right.
So since you don't respect normal boundaries, here's a legal one. Mm-hmm. Because I don't feel safe.
Yeah.
And so when I finally made it in there, they were almost closing. Mm-hmm. And I missed the judge. And I sat there and filled out the paperwork. And I was trying to ask questions. They don't answer your questions, And so I said, okay, I'm done. And it was hard. I was crying because I had to relive what had happened to cause me to have to be in there, because there was an incident. There was something that happened. Yeah. And she said, oh, he's gone for the day, so you're going to have to come back tomorrow. And I literally broke down crying.
I bet.
I literally broke down crying. Yeah, and by the time I got to my car, this sweet woman, she called me and she said, can you come back in here? And I said, okay. And she said, I talked to the judge and he's going to do it. And she said, I just felt so bad. And I was just like, I wasn't going to come back.
Right.
I couldn't
do it. Yeah.
I couldn't do it. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. And then I dealt with a lot of backlash. I dealt with the court of public opinion on his page and the friends that we had in common. I had people inboxing me, can you please not deal with stuff in the courts with, it's not fair for Black men. Wow. Can you, I had people coming for me because of what was being said. And no one really knew what happened that night. Because I'm not the kind of person to go and take to social media, but it was hard. That's what people need to understand. Yep. The incredible bravery it takes for someone to go there and do that and to endure the backlash from the person.
Right.
Because they're mad.
Right.
And everyone else.
Right.
And their judgment and what they believe happened.
That's right.
Or what they believe that person is capable of.
Yes. It's beyond true. I just have learned, especially something I've been through recently, that someone can look incredibly guilty and there's more to the story. And I'm not saying that does not apply to everything. It's not. We're too quick to justify someone's action. But when it comes to something like this, believe women who are saying that they're being hurt. It's too hard for us to say we've actually been hurt. It's too hard for us when we have a cape on to say that we now need a restraining order. And just know the women who are being actively physically abused, just calling them 911, there's a possibility that you both get arrested.
Yes.
Like, there's so much that's happening. And it's also incredibly dangerous for a police officer to come up on a domestic violence. So I want to acknowledge that it's very, very difficult. But the woman who's involved with that domestic violence, and sometimes it's men, but with a woman who's involved in domestic violence, doesn't even know if she calls, will she have safety, but will she also be taken to prison because they can't prove who hit who first? Was she defending herself or did she attack? Like, there's so much to this that we need to be talking about.
Yeah. I haven't experienced that, but I have friends that have. And I
Absolutely.
have had friends who have been taken to jail.
Yes, because they called for safety.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And so that's why I'm so glad you were on the front lines. You're on the front lines in the stigma against mental health. You're on the front lines in stigma against mental health in the church. And you're also in the front lines with women, particularly Black women, who are learning that self-connection and self-care is for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's something to be said, Kim, about what it looks like and what it feels like for us to finally come home to ourselves.
Yeah. Come home to ourselves.
Come home to ourselves.
Yeah. That's so good. That's so good. I love you so much. I'm so proud of you. I'm so glad we can get this part of your story out there and for women to know that you're available. So let me ask you a few a little bit more lighthearted questions.
Yes. What you got?
And then we'll close up. Okay. All right, my friend. We're going to put you in the hot seat, throw some questions at you, rapid fire. Let's just see what happens. All right, Shamyra, what are you the most proud of?
My children.
Your children? Yeah.
They are beautiful human beings.
They are beautiful little human beings.
Yeah.
And they have their own little book. Book.
And they are little prayer warriors in the making. Like they actually are just like compassionate, praying, loving, kind human beings.
That's beautiful.
I'm most proud of them.
Just like their mom.
Oh, thank you.
Just like their mom. What surprises you the most about yourself?
I don't want to say the S word. I don't want to say strength. I will say resilience. Mm-hmm. I didn't really realize how resilient I was.
Yeah.
Until I got to this place in my life and had experienced the level of trauma that I had, to be able to still have and access joy and peace. Right. I never thought I would have it. I never thought I would have joy. I never thought I would have peace. And to actually have it, the resilience is tied to that. And so I would say my resilience is really surprising, because there are times when I just want to be like, you know what? Forget it.
Out. Proper out.
Yes. Right. Yeah. Seriously, that's on a real note.
Yeah, that's on a real note. I love that. Yeah, but you're very resilient and you're connected. Everything you described is a sense of like, now I'm connected after such a land of disconnection. You're reconnected to yourself.
Yeah.
All right. Strangest place you ever slept?
I don't know if I should answer this. Well, like a toilet.
There could be a lot of stories behind that. All right. We're going with the toilet.
We're going to leave it.
We're going to leave it at that. All right. What do you have a love-hate relationship with?
Oh, I don't know. What do I have a love-hate relationship? I kind of either love or hate stuff. I'm not kind of in between. Gotcha. Let's say exercise.
Okay, that's good. A lot of people can relate to that.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I love how it makes me feel. I love how it energizes me. Of course, I love how it, makes my body strong, but it kind of sucks sometimes. It kind of sucks.
I got a witness to that. That's good. All right, last question for you. If you had to give yourself a new name, what would it be?
You know what? I really, really love Nina Simone. Yeah. So I would take her name. I would maybe be Nina Simone, because I just think she's prolific and amazing.
Yeah, that's a great name. All right. I know people have fallen in love with you, and I'm already in love with you. So I'm just curious. How would people contact you? Website, Instagram handle, whatever it is, throw it out there.
Yes. So my website is bornboundless.com. I also have a new one coming that Miss Corey Huggins is building for me, and it is ShamyraParker.com. And then my socials all across social media is I am Shamyra Parker. So I am ShamyraParker. And that's how you get in contact with me. Just listen, I love people, and I love connecting to be able to serve and support. Right. And come alongside you. So if you feel like I can serve you, if you're interested, just reach out.
I love that. And I love that you are your name, that you've claimed that's identity in him. That's so good. But thank you for your generosity and your wisdom and expertise today. I love you so much. Thank you for that.
Love you.
And to our listeners, thank you for being a part of this today. I pretty sure you heard something today that flipped your lid, and also heard great knowledge from Shamyra that allowed you to reconnect to who God says you are. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to Flip Your Lid with Kim Honeycutt. Please subscribe, rate, and share. You can find Kim on Facebook or Instagram at KB Honeycutt. To get an autographed copy of Kim's book, visit butyourmotherlovesyou.com. Remember, no matter what, treat yourself well today.